Hi, good evening. You're very welcome to Berlin for the first concert in our series KNM Contemporaries Music in the Making 2020. The venue is KM 28 here in Neukölln, and my name is Dr. Liam Cagney. I'm a musicologist at BIM Institute and contemporary classical music critic with Gramophone magazine, and I'm going to be your glamorous host as we go through 3 days of exciting, adventurous new music with performances, interviews and presentations. In KNM Contemporaries Music in the Making 2020, the KNM meets musical influencers, if you like, new voices, fresh voices, trailblazers and people who are setting the terms for new music and notated music in 2020 and looking ahead to the next decade. And as is very important always for KNM, there's a good deal of intercultural exchange and diversity of perspectives being involved over the next 3 evenings. And this year's edition, I should say, is joined by an online media magazine where you can check out all the different resources that are coming from the series and find out more about the composers, the performers, etc. So just to say who this evening's composers are, first there's Francisco C. Goldschmidt from Chile, then Macarena Rosmanisch from Chile, and finally Martin Schutler, who is from Germany. This evening's musicians will be Theodor Flindel on violin, Theo Nabicht on contrabass clarinet, Rebecca Lenton on flute, and Kirsten Maria Pientka on viola. So obviously this isn't a traditional concert series, so a few words first about the setup we have for this multimedia presentation. So the performance of each work has been pre-recorded as a video over the past week or two. Alongside the video presentations will be presentations then by the composers in different formats, either via Zoom, here in person, or on pre-recorded video. Then after each work and the presentation, we're giving you a little Q&A between the composer and the performer, teasing out the different elements of the work, the composer's aesthetic, and we'll be very happy to take any questions that any of our viewers have as well about what they have heard. The theme of this second edition is alone. So it's a very fitting artistic perspective to take at this point after the year that we've all had under lockdown, self-isolating and so forth. And the composers have been invited to look at this theme of alone in terms of different thematic content, for example, autonomy, self-affirmation, egotism, different things that might come out of this, and to combine it then with the instrumental focus. And the instrumental focus of this series is solo instruments. So by bringing together this kind of thematic focus and instrumental focus, we get a kind of joined perspective on where music is at right now going into the next year of the decade. So we'll move on now to our first performance, the first performance on video. The composer of this piece is Francisco C. Goldschmidt. We have him here via Zoom and he will be in discussion afterwards. The piece we will hear is called Y tal vez habré gritado, which translates as something like, and maybe I will have screamed, composed in 2015 for amplified violin solo and piano resonator. The performer is Theodor Flindel on violin. Just a few words of biography first. Francisco C. Goldschmidt studied composition at the University of Chile and a master's in the theory and history of art at the same university. He then received a scholarship to pursue further studies at the Cologne University of Music. His music has been performed by many international ensembles and orchestras, such as Ensemble Recherche, Fukio Ensemble, the Chamber Orchestra of Chile, and the SVR Symphony Orchestra of Stuttgart. Extracts from his chamber opera Eloi, Music with Images of Isolation, have received diverse awards. And since 2011, Goldschmidt has lived and worked in Cologne as a freelance composer and artistic director of the Comas Ensemble. So now we'll hear a video of Y tal vez habré gritado, performed by Theodor Flindel. That was Y tal vez habré gritado by Francisco Goldschmidt, performed by Theodor Flindel. And I would just say we're all missing live performance terribly, but if there's one bright spot, it's that we can get such wonderful perspectives on the music through these interesting audiovisual productions. And I think a very good job was done there. Just to comment on the piece, my own personal observation, if I could just, I suppose, say one, is ostensibly it's for a solo instrument, which one might think of as one voice, but there really was a multitude of voices in that piece brought out by the different bowing techniques and instrumental techniques, a real polyphony. So we will have a presentation by video now by Francisco talking about the piece for a moment. This will be followed then by a live Q&A via Zoom between Francisco Goldschmidt and Theodor Flindel. In general, the Q&As over the next 3 evenings will be in English. This one will be in German. But if you have any questions at home and you want to send them in, please do, and we will do our best to facilitate them.
Y tal vez habré gritado. Und vielleicht würde ich geschrien haben, ist die Übersetzung des Titels dieses Stückes für verstärkte Geige und nachklingendes Klavier, das 2015 geschrieben wurde. Der Titel deutet auf einen Zweifel hin. Der Satz wurde wie in einem Zustand des Traumes oder vielleicht des Fiebers formuliert, in dem die Realität etwas verzerrt erscheint. Dieses Stück ist Teil eines Musiktheaters namens Eloy, ein noch offenes Projekt, an dem ich in den letzten Jahren gearbeitet habe. Das Video, das man gerade ansieht, ist Teil der Arbeit, die Nikolaus Rupsic für das Musiktheater geleistet hat. Es fällt mir schwer, etwas über das Stück zu sagen. Mir ist selbst nicht klar, was mich dazu gebracht hat, mich all dem zu widmen. Ich kann noch nicht erkennen, ob ich irgendwann verstehe, was dahinter steckt und wohin das Stück deutet. Ich weiß auch nicht, ob ich derjenige bin, der die Klänge, die von Zeit zu Zeit hier hereinplatzen, bewusst ausgewählt hat. Ich frage mich, ob man es wirklich selbst als Komponist ist, der diese Klänge sammelt. Ist es nur unsere individuelle Stimme, die dort vertreten ist? Und wenn es vielleicht umgekehrt wäre und man nur der Ort ist, an dem die Vielfältigkeit unserer Umwelt aufeinanderprallt, wäre man dann nicht ein bloßes Medium, das in Ausübung einer gewissen Wahrnehmungsdisposition radikal offen für die Vielfältigkeit, die Erscheinung des Formlosen ist? Es ist, als gäbe es da eine Kreuzung, an der sich unterschiedliche Sprachen und unvereinbare Handlungs- und Arbeitsweisen gegenüberstehen. Eine Kreuzung, an der die Grammatiken die Regeln der Sprache vorübergehend aussetzen und die Koordination verschiedener Ordnungen scheinbar der Anarchie weicht. Merkwürdigerweise stellt das, was entsteht, eine gewisse Forderung dar, denn in jedem Moment ist etwas äußerst Konkretes gemeint, das minutiös quantifizierbar und in irgendeine Schreibweise übersetzbar sein will, um in der Realität in einen Gegenstand verwandelt zu werden. Wir dürfen nicht vergessen, dass das Musikschreiben auch eine Technologie ist, eine Beschriftungstechnologie, eine Fiktion, die, wenn sie produziert und reproduziert wird, unendliche Mutationen erzeugt, die es unmöglich machen, von einem Original zu sprechen. Wenn ich nun etwas über das Stück sagen muss, würde ich es als das Werden verschiedener Momente beschreiben. Das Entstehen von Situationen, die ihren Weg verlieren und in denen sich Spuren undurchsichtiger Gesänge finden, die durch ihre eigene Instabilität getrübt sind. Sein hartnäckiger und gewundener Charakter ist alles andere als festlich. Vielmehr gibt es einen Ton, der eine gewisse Erschütterung suggeriert. Als etwas, das versucht, gesagt zu werden und dem es nicht gelingt, die richtige Stimme zu finden, um sich auszudrücken. etwas, das ein wenig verschwommen ist, das in der Nähe des Deliriums umherwandert und das zuweilen von herausfordernden Bildern unterbrochen wird, die mit Wut und Schicksal aufgeladen sind, schließlich von Realität. Am Tag vor der Fertigstellung des Stücks erfuhr ich vom Tod von Cirilo Villa. Am nächsten Tag erschienen ein paar weitere Takte und das Werk war seinem Vermächtnis, seiner Generosität gewidmet.
Okay, now we will have a question and answer session in German between the composer, Francisco C. Goldschmidt. Welcome, Francisco. And Theodor Flindel.
Hallo, lieber Francisco.
Hallo.
Kannst du mich hören?
Hallo Theodor. Ja, kann dich
Ich
hören.
freue mich sehr,
Hört ihr mich?
dass wir jetzt hier eine kleine Question-and-Answer-Session haben. Und jetzt kommt gleich meine erste Frage an dich. Gibt es eigentlich musikalische Vorbilder aus der Vergangenheit für die Sprache von Y tal vez habré gritado? Also zum Beispiel die expressionistische Phase der zweiten Wiener Schule oder die frühe elektronische Musik in den 50er Jahren? Oder haben diese Epochen keine Bedeutung für dich?
Schwierige Frage. Erstmal vielen Dank, Theodor, für deine Arbeit. Das war unglaublich, wie du das Stück gespielt hast. Naja, Vorbilder. Ich glaube, du fragst mich wegen der Rolle der expressionistischen Phase der zweiten Wiener Schule, weil du etwas im Stück gespürt hast, das damit zu tun hat. Ich glaube, das vielleicht.
Ja. Bis in die Schreibweise zum Beispiel für die Flageoletts, für die Flageolettklänge.
Genau. Ja, genau, das ist voll richtig. Ich glaube, man kann nicht indifferent von dieser Musik sein. Ja, auf jeden Fall. Also von der expressionistischen Musik. Doch, was ich davon als Vorbild annehmen kann, wären eher die Fragen, also diese radikale Fragen von allem von Schönberg, Berg, Bartók, Bevan gestellt wurden. Ich glaube, der sogenannte Expressionismus ist für mich ein Vorbild gewesen, weil das ist auch eine Art von Revolte, finde ich. Das war auch ein Aufstand der Common Sense entstanden. Und ich glaube, wir müssen immer gegen das Common Sense kämpfen. Ich glaube, das ist auch ein Teil unserer Tätigkeit als Künstler. Aber das nehme ich als Lehre. Das war die Lehre eigentlich, die sie uns geschenkt haben. Also, dass die Grenzen der Musik noch erweitert werden kann und diese Annäherung zu dem Aberrant, zu dem Anormal, finde ich ein wichtiger Moment dieser Revolte. Und ich glaube, das bleibt immer noch offen und wir müssen damit noch weiterarbeiten. Und da war deine Frage wegen der Vorbilden. Vielleicht müsste man erstmal sich fragen, was ist ein musikalisches Vorbild überhaupt? Weil ich glaube, alles, was man anhört und als Erlebnis erfährt, gut oder schlecht, ist schließlich ein Vorbild. Sogar über schlechte Vorbilder hast du mich nicht gefragt, aber ich glaube, die sind die wichtigsten, finde ich, weil
weil man die kritische Meinungen damit üben kann. Bei kritischer Meinung meine ich nicht ein Stück anzuhören und nur die Schwäche von ihr zu zeigen, sondern umgekehrt, in jedem Stück gibt es etwas, das man wertvoll annehmen kann und man muss immer einfach verstehen, dass wenn man komponiert, viele Sachen ungelöst bleiben und die Musik ist so fragil wie der Mensch einfach. Aber oder die zweite, du hast auch gesagt, diese elektronische Musik der 50er Jahren, da finde ich, für mich, die spielen eigentlich keine Rolle. Ich, ich glaube, für mich aber wenn du mich jetzt fragst, ich frage mich, warum habe ich diese Vorbilder auch überhaupt? Weil ich komme aus Chile, ich hatte eine strenge sozusagen Erziehung, also musikalische Erziehung. Aber genau, die expressionistische Musik, ich, ich glaube, du hast recht, ich bin auch ein Teil davon. Also ich sehe mich in dieser Strömung sozusagen. Aber die Frage der Vorbilder ist eine wichtige Frage. Also, weil vielleicht das ist auch eine Fiktion der Musikgeschichte. Warum haben wir Vorbilder oder bestimmte musikalische Vorbilder, weil schließlich wir haben ein kleines Repertoire, das sich wiederholt und das wird nur angenommen in der Hochschule, in Schulen. Genau, also deine Frage bringt noch Fragen mit, ich glaube. Wir müssen irgendwie, also warum bleiben wir nur bei unseren musikalischen Vorbilder und wir suchen nicht andere musikalische Vorbilder? Ich glaube, das ist die Frage wir brauchen eine radikale neue Erziehung, ich glaube. Eine andere musikalische Erziehung vielleicht.
Ja, meine Frage ging auch deswegen in diese Richtung, weil ich das, wie du schon richtig vermutet hast, ich das durchaus gespürt habe, als ich das Stück studiert habe in der Musik und im Zusammenhang mit der zweiten Wiener Schule gibt es ja auch eine wichtige Figur, nämlich den deutschen Musikwissenschaftler und Philosophen Theodor Adorno, der ja in seiner ästhetischen Theorie ganz zentral die Frage nach Affirmation und aber auch eben Kunst als Einspruch und als Widerstand gegen die Verhältnisse aufgebracht hat. Und ja, deine Musik hat mich da spontan in diese Strömung, also hat mich daran sehr erinnert. Die zweite Frage bezieht sich jetzt auf das Setup, was für das Stück benötigt wird. Also mit dem Klavier als Resonator und der elektronischen Verstärkung. Ich habe ja in meiner Lecture, die wir auf Video aufgenommen haben, über dein Stück, dieses Verfahren charakterisiert als eine Art musikalisches Vergrößerungsglas. Und hier wäre meine Frage, ob du auch diesen Ausdruck passend findest. Oder wenn nicht, welche Bedeutung hat es eigentlich, dieses Verfahren? Speziell jetzt auch bei diesem Stück.
Ja, vielleicht müssen wir eine kurze Antwort geben. Wir haben 2 Minuten.
Okay. Die Beziehung passt perfekt. Ich glaube, das ist total. Und wegen der Bedeutung dieser Idee, ich glaube, es hat zu tun mit der Idee des Spiegels, ich glaube. Die Verdoppelung, die man spüren kann, wenn man die verstärkte Geige dazu anhört. Also dieses komische Signal von den Klavierresonanzen, die immer ganz leise da sind. Das ist wie eine Art von Bedrohung, die immer da ist. Das funktioniert wie ein Schatten sozusagen. In der Roman, so in Meloy, arbeitet auch mit solchen Bildern. Es gibt immer überall komische Schatten oder Teile von Gesichtern, die plötzlich hereinkommen und man kann nicht genau wissen, welche Figur da kommt oder da ist. Und wir müssen nicht vergessen, dass das Stück auch ein Duo ist. Es ist schließlich ein Duo mit einem aktiven Körper und einem passiven Körper, was da auf der Bühne entsteht. Das ist diese komische Beziehung, das im Spiel ist. Also das Klavier gibt nicht so viel, das bleibt immer im Hintergrund, aber als Schatten, in einer Nebenposition sozusagen. Aber ich glaube, das ist die Idee, die ich da hatte.
Vielen Dank.
Vielen Dank, Francisco and Theodore. Many thanks. And yeah, we look forward to hearing more from you.
Okay.
Okay, so we should.
Und ich wollte mich bedanken bei dir. Die künstlerische Arbeit, die organisatorische Arbeit und ja, es war sehr schön.
Danke, Francisco.
Und vielen Dank für die Einladung auch.
Our second performance tonight on video will be from the composer Macarena Rosmanish, who will also be joining us via video. The piece we will hear is Zeichen, composed this year for contrabass clarinet, performed by Theo Nabicht. Before we watch the video, a brief biography. Macarena Rosmanish was born in Santiago de Chile. She studied classical composition at the University of Chile, where she graduated with honors. In 2016, she completed a master's degree in instrumental composition at the Robert Schumann Academy of Music in Düsseldorf. Her works have been performed by ensembles in various countries, including Germany, Spain, France, Chile, and Luxembourg. Macarena's music, she says, is mainly influenced by literature and poetry. She's also a piano teacher and has taught around Germany at various music schools, and since November 2017, Macarena has been a lecturer at the Musikbrig Music School in Cologne. So now we will hear Zeichen, performed by Theo Nabicht. That was Zeichen by Macarena Rosmanisch, performed by Theo Nabischt. And such a wonderfully evocative performance and indeed piece. Much more ambient and meditative, I think, than our first piece, and it used the silence very well to frame the different sounds and the different emotional states passing by. So now we will have a question and answer session with Macarena. Hi, Macarena.
Hi. Hi.
And with Theo Nabisch. So, yeah, if you want to begin.
Okay, hi Macarena, schön dich zu sehen.
Hi, Theo.
Ich wollte dich ein paar Fragen stellen, einiges fragen. Und zwar hast du geschrieben, hast du die Komposition Zeichen genannt. Was bedeuten für dich diese Zeichen und wie drücken die sich aus?
Yeah. So should I do it in English or German?
Wie du möchtest.
Okay,
Whichever
then,
you're comfortable with.
okay, then let's do it in English. So for me, a sign is like a device by which I approach a piece as a tool through which I represent the signals sent from my unconscious. Yeah, it's the way I materialize, putting on paper and translating into sounds the picture or sound image that appears. That's for me a sign. Yeah.
Heißt das dann übersetzt für mich, dass die Zeichen sich, du benutzt ähnliche Zeichensprachen wie Multiphonics in verschiedensten Lagen, manchmal wiederholst du Dinge. Ist das sozusagen immer ein Zeichen, was sich bewusst verändert oder bewusst konstant bleibt? Ich würde es gerne verstehen,
genau.
Was genau das ist.
Ja, genau. Also so in the moment when I started to work, I don't have a previous idea of what of the piece. I don't have the idea of the whole piece. And then there is a whole process who is not really a compositional process in the way that I'm not really writing. I'm hearing other type of musics and I am reading a lot, or I don't know, and the signs starting to appears. It's the way I can invoke this kind of sound pictures or like that. I don't know if to if you understand, but what I wanted to say. But in this process, all that in one moment appears, it is all unconscious. And then when I have the sign there, I put it on the paper. Then this, of course, a conscious process that I can work with. Ja.
Du hast auch schon meine nächste Frage eigentlich beantwortet, deswegen gehe ich gleich noch einen Schritt weiter. Warum hast du gerade diese Kontrabassklarinette ausgewählt? Du hättest ja auch was für Flöte oder Geige oder Bratsche schreiben können.
Ja, also
oder Klarinette natürlich, klar.
Yeah. Well, I didn't work with this instrument before, and I just wanted to try another, also exploring new sonorities, and new for me, of course. And I wanted to work with other possibilities. every sound, every sign that I write give me always another ways to move in self of the piece. And that is the same thing with another instrument, with another sound, another possibilities, and that's what I use the contrabass clarinet for this piece.
Und war es besonders schwer für dich, dafür zu schreiben, oder war es sehr einfach?
Also, I think it's not easy or difficult. It's just for me, it's definitely the moment which I can hear the picture in my mind, and the whole process to be in this moment is, it could be difficult, but in a way, but it's just part of the creative process. I don't think it's difficult. I mean, it's like for every piece it's like that, actually. Yeah.
Noch eine Frage. Ich kann das ruhig wahrscheinlich hier, ich sage das einfach so. Normalerweise, als wir das erste Mal zusammengearbeitet haben, hast du gesagt, eigentlich sollte das Stück mit Elektronik sein. Warum hast du dich entschieden, das Stück ohne Elektronik zu machen?
Weil, at the first time I thought, okay, a solo piece, could be interesting with different shadows of others' instruments, and I actually composed the piece hearing these shadows of others' sounds there. But when I work with you, I realized that the instrument is a whole world, and the piece doesn't need any more electronics, and I just decided to leave it like that. Yeah, I think it was a good decision.
Ich denke auch. Also mir hat es, ich kenne ja die Elektronik nicht, aber mir hat es großen Spaß gemacht, das Stück zu spielen, und es war mir sehr familiär. Ja.
Super. Thanks a lot for the work on my pieces. It was really, really nice to work with you.
Just one final question, Macarena. This is your second time working with KNM. You were also involved last year. Do you have any perspectives on how your work has developed over that year, or on the year that's happened?
But you mean in relation with KNM or in general?
Sure, well, either. I meant with KNM, but yeah, in general, either.
Well, I have actually many projects this year. I finished yet a piece for piano, solo piano. This year was my solo year, because I wrote 4 solo pieces. And next year it's a bit different, because I have other ensembles and formations. I have duos and big ensembles, or trios. That's interesting, actually.
Okay, it sounds busy. And well, thank you very much for joining us, Macarena and Theo.
Thank you, and again, thanks to KNM for the invitation this year again. It was a huge pleasure to work with you.
So now we turn to our final performances, 2 of them. of the Night on video. And they are two pieces by composer Martin Schutler. And because of social distancing and regulations, we couldn't have many people here tonight, but we're delighted that Martin is able to join us in person. The first piece we will hear is Schöner Lieben 5 for prepared viola with amplification and tape, and it will be performed by Kirsten Maria Piętka. That was Schöner Leben 5 by Martin Schutler, performed by Kirsten Maria Pientka. And wonderful variety again, this time with a more music theatre focus. As we shared a moment in the life of a soloist, it kind of brought to mind something by Samuel Beckett to me. We'll now hear a presentation by Martin Schutler on his music, and afterwards we will have a live Q&A.
Okay, good evening everybody, and I'm happy to be here at the wonderful presentation, and I'm actually live. So thanks KNM for inviting me and for having me. I will do a brief talk about some aspects of my solo pieces. The talk is called All Alone, Solo in Foreign Terrain, so which focuses on some aspects which I would say solo as augmented idea of instrument, or like an extended surrounding of solo. So how to put soloists in a completely different situation, and what does it mean? I will show briefly on a couple of my pieces. I will talk about spatial environments, about sonic environments, and finally about special, unusual demands. So these are all aspects, I would say, and I consider being augmentations for a solo piece, and I hope it will be clear when I go through it. So the first aspect will be like the spatial environment. And maybe one could even see, and it's been already put out by Liam, that there's like a theatrical aspect to it, and that means that very often in my solo pieces there's a specific spatial environment, like a space where it's taking a place in. So this is either a site-specific thing. It's a bit funny because the photo I was chosen for this presentation, which I hope you can see online too, is somehow strangely vibrating with the environment of this place. So that's kind of funny and beautiful, I think. On the other side, there is something which is not really site-specific, but something which is on stage, and I would say it's like an artificial environment I put on stage. I see this very often as like a sketch of a specific environment, so that there's just a leftover or a slight connotation of something. I can show on one piece we will hear after my talk, which is Schöner Leben 3, and you can see, or maybe not see, but I hope you can see at least a bit of it. There is a neon light on the top of the performer, and this is not only the light of the piece, it's also a setting, a kind of a scene, which is very reduced. It's just only the light, but the light turns into an instrument. I will talk about this later. So this kind of setting makes a specific artificial environment of a stage. Here's another ensemble, another example from Schöner Leben 1, which is kind of a piece for solo singer. In this case, it's Daniel Gloger, you can see, and it's the environment of a wedding singer, if you want to, like a one-man band. And so this kind of very specific setting on stage brings the soloist into a specific surrounding, which is reframing the solo, very literally framing or putting a surrounding to it. So a short and brief remark on something else. So this kind of artificial environments or artificial rooms are something which are interesting for me in general, and I have brought a picture which I think is a very beautiful example. It's a picture from an exhibition I saw in Münster a couple of years ago from Gregor Schneider, a German artist, and he's literally building empty apartments within the building. So you walk through the museum and you enter a door, and behind the door there is like a complete rebuilt empty apartment, which you, as if you visit an apartment, and you go through it and it really looks like an abandoned apartment. and then you open another door and the same apartment is repeating, and you go through the same but slightly different apartment, and it's literally built into the museum. So this is something I think it's awesome, that in a place where you don't expect, you face suddenly a kind of a different reality, but in reality, not just as a virtual simulation like we have. So this is something I connect to. So I here again the piece, the picture from Schöner Leben 3, and the neon light, which is kind of marking a scene or a specific slim situation. I have another short detour to make. I will show you a short clip because I did a solo from this solo. So the neon light, which is an instrument and part of this piece, became part of another piece which is called 6 Rooms, was an installational piece, and in this piece the neon light was there again, but without any musician. It's just the audience entering a room, and then the neon light was there marking a solo. Here you can see an excerpt, a video clip of this installation. So as you can see, this was just a short fragment, but this piece, 6 Rooms, has 6 different settings within the same site-specific room, which constantly shifts the light and the sound situation, and the neon light is one situation of that. As you can see, it looks completely different. So these kind of environments are very interesting for me as part of our perception. You can perceive musical items completely different, of course, in different rooms, but I think a lot about how can I make this rooms and this surroundings portable, to bring it to a stage, bring it to a different room, how to bring one specific environment into another environment and another environment into this environment, and how can I actually perceive it. Okay, and the next short aspect I will present is sonic environments. So this is now a complete cut and refers to the last piece, Schöner Leben 5. And you probably heard there's this kind of noisy sound from the prepared viola. I will say something about it in a minute. And then there's this very harsh, interfering electronic sounds. And this comes really completely from a very opposite environment, from a different sonic environment. It comes from this environment. It's from the 90s, a computer game which is called Yoshi's Tropical Island. You see I dressed according to that. And this was the computer sound of this early game from the 90s. And so on and so on. I think you get the picture. So part of the piece was taking this sound file, because it was a lucky coincidence. It was a ready-made I found, because this is like the original soundtrack, but I found a corrupted file which actually sounded slightly different. It sounded like that. What you heard before in the piece. So what obviously happened is that the soundtrack was played much too slow and with different kind of instrumentation, which belonged to the fact that this MIDI file was corrupted, and so I immediately took it, and actually what the viola part is playing is just one line from this track. So this is like a literal transcription of a corrupted computer soundtrack file, and it just re-meets again the live version and the electronic version. So that's a completely different sonic environment, and I love to bring those strange environments sonically together. So, and my last point for this presentation about my ideas of solo is what I call unusual demands. Here is another setting. It's part of a setting from another piece of Schöner Leben from the series. It's number 7, and it's for saxophones and several instruments. This saxophone player has to play according, or during he's playing the saxophone, he's playing 2 saxophones at the same time, and he's dealing with those foot switched, and he's playing the keyboard with his feet. So there is like a complex demand of different tasks, which I would say is an unusual setting of virtuosity and solo. Again, here's this setting from, I presented before, from Schöner Leben 1, which is also very complex. You have 3 types of microphones, the megaphone, different foot switches, and playing electronic piano, and so like really like a one-man band you find on a wedding party or something like that. So this was my idea of a specific surrounding. So again, about the piece we heard before, maybe it's important to mention that this is a prepared viola. There's a little stripe of aluminum foil which is put around the strings so that it's not possible actually to find the right intonation, and it's distorted, but it's also almost unpredictable which exactly pitch will come up. So this is a kind of a special setting, so it's a demanding setting where you can't control everything. So the idea of this kind of solo is for me to bring performers into a situation where they're not can completely rely on their education, what they learned and how it works. So it's not a question of becoming better and better by training over the years. It's more about the kind of courage you need to jump into a completely strange and unknown setting and somehow dealing with it. So the deficit of it, or the problems coming from that, the risk you have to take, that's an interesting energy I'd like to see with a solo. So that's kind of a different virtuosity for me, and not just like a trained virtuosity where you play louder, faster, and more complicated pitches and rhythms. So that's already coming to a conclusion, my short presentation. So I was talking about spatial environments, sonic environments, and unusual demands. These 3 aspects take place in a lot of my solo pieces, almost all of these series of Schöner Leben, which translates literally like living more beautiful, or more, more beautiful. And so a last remark, as you see, the spatial environments and the sonic environments, they come from very different approaches, come together. So they always bring for me, and that's maybe like the last thing, they reconstruct in the pieces kind of a social environment, which they bring with them. So this computer game comes from a very specific background, or the setting with the neon light reminds me on a basement where some strange things might happen. So all this brings and transports into the music kind of a social framing, social environment, which then is part of the music or becomes part of the sound and makes me listen different to the piece. Okay, that's it. Thanks for listening, and hope you enjoyed.
So in a moment we will have a Q&A between Martin and Rebecca Lenton of KNM. First, I just want to give a few more biographical details about Martin Schutler. He studied composition and computer music with Thomas Brüttger, Diego Feinstein, Nicholas Huber and Ludger Brümer. His work is for various solo and ensemble forces and generally includes electronics and/or new media. He's received several awards, among them the Kranichsteiner Composition Prize at the Darmstadt Summer Courses, and his music has been performed by ensembles such as Ensemble Modern, Musikfabrik, SVR Vocal Ensemble and Ictus. Since 2014, Martin Schutler has been Professor of Composition at the Hochschule für Musik und Darstellende Kunst in Stuttgart. Okay, so now we'll have a question and answer session with Rebecca Lenton and Martin Schutler. I should just remind you that these Q&As are between the composers and performers with whom they've worked.
Hi, Martin.
Hi.
You said quite a bit about your work for solo compositions, and having played your Schöne Leben 3, your flute solo, I have a couple of questions. To me, it's you could call it a trio, you could call it a duet. It's certainly trio, that the flute and then the tape, the backing track, and the neon light. A question to that in a second. First of all, you based it on the song "Girl, You Know It's True." Maybe you could say what made you pick that song and how you used it in the composition.
Yes, the song is not really part of the composition. It's more like a motto, or and I picked it because it was for me personally, but I think in pop culture, one moment of a huge scandal where it was about fake and authenticity. So this band, Milli Vanilli, in the 80s, became known not only for the song "Girl, You Know It's True," but also especially for this moment when it turned out that they actually don't sing their songs themselves. So this was like a huge scandal, and it turned out they are just dancers, and like mocking up or imitating the voices. And as this piece is very much about avoiding an original sound, as you said, it's a trio or a duo, or what is it? What is a solo? I thought it's helpful to at least have this kind of an echo of some historical, famous, fake history.
Because they won lots of prizes, I think, didn't they, or awards, and which were then taken away once they realized.
Yeah, and especially
the truth came out.
Sorry, yeah, they earned a lot of money with it, and it was. I think it's interesting because nowadays we talk completely different about fakes and about what's real and not, but we probably, in terms of apps which imitate you, how is it called, musically, and no, it's different today. Anyway, but we don't care so much about originality. But in the 80s, when it happened, it was quite more a big issue that they are not the performers of the music. Nowadays, it's almost incredible to think that this is such a big scandal. So they shifted somehow the perception.
Yes, things have changed a lot. Moving on to the neon light then, you described earlier a little bit about setting a stage, setting up a room. I guess that's part of the idea in this piece. Is there more to say about the neon light? It has a solo role in itself, really, in this piece.
Yes, besides the flute, this is like the opponent or the other. So these are both like like mirrors of each other. So there's like the flute as a tube and then the light tube, so the duo of two tubes, but completely different. And the light tube, like the neon light, is amplified and becomes a sonic solo as well, and is played by the performer.
Okay, thank you. I have one last question, actually, to the viola piece. There you write a quote as well. I just have to wait a minute. But MK, the quote was nichts verstehen ist besser als gar nichts verstehen, or understanding nothing is better than understanding nothing at all. I translate it as MK.
Martin Kippenberger, which is in Berlin very well known. He's founder of the SO36, for instance. He's a painter and punk musician and artist and very famous German enfant terrible of the 80s especially, and he was also a writer, and this is, maybe it's a bit cheesy, I know, but he was writing this book called 600, I don't know the number, it's a huge number, it's 600 something, titles to borrow for artists. So this is like a page after page, only possible titles. And he said, okay, I have just plenty of titles for artists who need a title. Here you can borrow one. And I borrowed one. So.
Nice. Cool. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just have one final question. I was interested in this this balance between foreign terrains, which you spoke of, and then the kind of everydayness of the things that you're exploring in some of your solo works. There's this idea that some people talk about in art of defamiliarizing reality and giving us a new perspective on it. Am I in the ballpark of what you're exploring at times?
Yeah, definitely. So the everyday life is very important to me, especially if you, or I'm interested in transforming it to something which becomes, alienated or strange, because it's it mirrors ourselves the other possibilities which are in our next surrounding. For me, it's an important question because if you learn that the nearest to you can be something completely different which you thought, you might think that you can actually change something.
Right. Yes, it's a fascinating area, and it's very powerful in the way that you're exploring it.
Thank you.
So yeah, thank you for being here and for answering the questions with Rebecca Lenton, who we will now hear in a performance of Schöner Leben 3, Girl, You Know It's True, for flute with neon light amplification and tape. Schöne lieben drei, Girl, You Know It's True, performed by Rebecca Lenton, composed by Martin Schutler. And such dramatic tension in that piece as it proceeds, and we go through different emotions with the performer. And I feel like it's full circle for tonight, because as with our first piece, again, I'm left wondering, is it a solo? Are there two voices, three voices? Certainly more than one, in my opinion, in any case. So that's it for tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. We're delighted to have you here for this virtual concert in our KNM Contemporary series. And please come back tomorrow when we have works by, and I hope I pronounce all the names correctly, Anda Kreju, Husen Kuksel, and Anais Nur Ben Lachab. So until tomorrow, sleep well and see you then.